Hey guys, Austin here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a power rankings video. I have not done a power rankings video for a couple of weeks, so I figured it'd be fun to jump back in, do my tier list style power ranking, and yeah, let's just jump into it. So, first things first, our categories today are Cup Contender. We have our playoff locks, we have wild card fight, and then we have struggling to stay afloat. So struggling to stay afloat, those are teams that are still in the wild card playoff hunt, but they're very close to being completely out of it. And then there's the category it's over. That's teams that, I'm sorry, it is over. And then Celebrini season, of course, the teams with the best chance in the draft lottery. So we're actually going to go from Celebrini season up to Cup Contender. So we're going to kind of like reverse things. In the past, I kind of was just doing things randomly and putting teams everywhere. But in this one, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So first team in Celebrini season, of course, is the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, nothing has gone right for that team this season. They are fully committed to the rebuild. They've had a lot of injuries, especially to their key players like Connor Bedard, and it makes sense that they will be in the draft lottery once again. Now, the next team is the San Jose Sharks. Now, the Sharks are interesting because they are 5-3-2 in their last 10 games. So they have started to win some games here and there, but it's not going to be enough to get them out of the basement of the NHL. So that's where they are. They are in that Celebrini season category. And then the next team, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets. If I can find them, here they are. Columbus Blue Jackets, again, another team where they've just been riddled with injuries. Nothing has gone right for that team. Columbus is 3-6-1 in their last 10. They have a 46.97 expected goals for percentage. They are not a great team. Sorry, Columbus fans. And then the last team that I think has the best lottery chances right now is the Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim is 4-5-1 in their last 10, and they have a 44.48 expected goals for percentage, which is, again, that's not good. If you're under 50%, it's not great. If you're under 45%, that's like really bad. So moving on to the it's over category. These are teams where there's not going to be enough runway to get back into it. First one is the Montreal Canadiens. They've put up a valiant effort this season. They've won a lot more than I thought. They've been a lot more competitive than I thought they would be. They are currently 4-5-1 in their last 10, but they have lost their last 2 games, and they have a 45.07 expected goals for percentage this season, which that's not going to be enough to sustain and get you over the top to the playoffs. So for Montreal, hope that you get a top 5 pick this year and keep building because you guys have pieces. Montreal has good pieces to build on in the future. The next team that I'm putting in this category is the Ottawa Senators. Again, Ottawa, they are playing better. They are on a 3-game win streak. They are 6-2-2 in their last 10, but they got off to just such a horrible start. They're 21-25, and they've just lost too many games. They've lost too many games in regulation to realistically get back into the playoff picture. They do have a 50.83 expected goals for percentage, though. So if they did start climbing back into the playoff picture, not quite inside, but if they did start climbing the standings a little bit more, that would not surprise me. And then the next team I will put in, it's over, is the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo is 5-5 in their last 10. They have a 49.6 expected goals for percentage. They've lost 2 straight games. And again, this is a team that just has not found consistency this season. And it's unfortunate because every year that I think Buffalo is going to take that extra step and finally make the playoffs, they find a way to absolutely crap the season, it sucks. I feel bad for Sabres fans. So next category is struggling to stay afloat. So these are teams that are still technically in the playoff picture, but to me one bad losing streak, you're out of it. One good winning streak, you're right in there. So first team that I'm putting in there is the Arizona Coyotes. Arizona is 3-5-2 in their last 10. They have a 48.23 expected goals for percentage. And this is a team that has been a fun story this year, but they are starting to fall out of it, in my opinion. Now, the next team is the Minnesota Wild. I almost put them in the it's over category, but Minnesota has won 2 in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They have a 48.39 expected goals for percentage. Minnesota's an interesting team. They could be a team that just randomly wins 7, 8, 9 in a row, and they're just right back in there. So for now, I will say they are struggling to stay afloat, though. Next team I have in here is the Seattle Kraken. Now, Seattle is 3-6-1 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row, but they do hold a 52.41 expected goals for percentage. So if there is a team that can get themselves back into this just based on some of the basic analytics, Seattle's a team that could do it. But again, they're kind of there's a reason why this category is called struggling to stay afloat. You might have got a little too far back in the standings. Now, my next team that I'm going to put in here is the Washington Capitals. Now, Washington did recently beat Boston. They actually held Boston to like 17 shots or 18 shots. Bruins played terribly. Washington played great. And then Washington lost the next day to Vancouver in overtime. They are 3-5-2 in their last 10, and they only have a 44.93 expected goals for percentage. This is a team that statistically, analytically has been very poor, but they have had very good goaltending this season. But Alex Ovechkin has scored in, I think, 5 straight games now. So if he starts to pick up his goal scoring, you never know with Washington, right? Next team that is struggling to stay afloat, the New Jersey Devils. They are 3-6-1 in their last 10 games, and their expected goals for percentage has dropped all the way down to 49.22%. At one point, the New Jersey Devils were a top 5 expected goal score generating team, but as the season has progressed with injuries and just regression and just a whole bunch of different factors at play, New Jersey has really struggled over the last month and a half. Goaltending, goal scoring, nothing seems to be going right for New Jersey, and if they don't start winning games soon, they are going to be out of it. Next team I have in the struggling to stay afloat category is the New York Islanders. The Islanders are 3-5-2 in their last 10, and they hold a 49.04 expected goals for percentage. They did make that coaching change. I don't think Patrick Roy is going to be enough to get them over the hump this season. I think that team is still a little too old, a little too slow. I think Lamoriello is going to have to be done at the end of the season, and I think they're going to have to bring a GM that's a bit more new school, and I think they're going to have to start working on a retool or an outright rebuild. Next team in the struggling to stay afloat category, and this is the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a team that all season I'm like, you know what? They're going to get back into it. Pittsburgh, they're going to get back into it, and they just have not found the consistency needed to be a playoff team. They are 3-4-3 in their last 10. They've lost 2 straight games, but they do have a 51.37 expected goals for percentage. So just like Seattle, their goals for percentage is positive, or expected goals for is positive, meaning that they could possibly start winning some games and getting back into the wild card fight. But for now, they are struggling to stay afloat. And if they lose a few more games in regulation in a row, I mean, that's going to be it for their season. They're going to have to start selling. Now we're into the wild card fight. So these are teams that are either currently in a wild card spot or they have a chance of making the wild card. They haven't quite fallen below the playoff hunt, in my opinion. First team that is going in here is the Calgary Flames. Now, they were going to be in the struggling to stay afloat category, but Calgary has won 4 straight games. They look terrific since they traded Lindholm and picked up Kuzmenko. They have a 48.67 expected goals for percentage, but that has steadily been improving over the last 10 games or so. So we're going to see what Calgary can do. If they manage to make the playoffs, that'll make the Pacific Division very, very interesting. Next team I am putting in this category is the Nashville Predators. Nashville's 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. They do hold a 51.54 expected goals for percentage, and this is a team that has been hovering around that wild card spot all season. They've played a lot better than I think most people thought. I did not have them as a playoff team this year. I thought they were going to take a step back, start working on their retool a little bit, but Nashville, they play a hard, tough game, and they're right in it, so good for them. Next team I'm putting in here is the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis is currently in the first wildcard position in the West. They are 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 2 games in a row, but the one thing that does concern me with St. Louis is that their expected goals for is only 44.8%, and that is one of the lowest in the entire league. That is like bottom 6, I believe. So for St. Louis, they're winning now. If they do regress, don't be surprised, but they could find a way to sustain this, so we'll see. The next team I'm putting in this category is the Los Angeles Kings. Los Angeles was really struggling. They fired Todd McClellan. They got their new coach Hiller. They just beat Edmonton. They've won 2 games in a row. They are 4-4-2 in their last 10, and they do hold a 52.5 expected goals for percentage. Now, they were a team, just like New Jersey, they were a team that was top 5 in the expected goals for a long time this season. They did drop off, but I am curious to see if this new coaching bump is going to help them. The way they played against Edmonton was very stingy, very strong defensive play. They got some good goaltending, and they got some goal scoring, so we'll see if LA can continue that. The next team that's going in the wild card fight is the Detroit Red Wings. They are 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. They've won 1 game in a row. Now, the one thing that concerns me with Detroit, though, is they have a 43.37 expected goals for percentage. And out of all teams that are near or at a playoff position, that is the lowest expected goals for percentage. So this is a team that is due for some major regression. But they've managed to sustain it up to this point. Their team shooting percentage is very high. I think it's hovering around 12 or 13%. Not sure how much longer they can sustain that, but they do have goal scorers. They do have finishers. And for Detroit fans, hey, if you make the playoffs this year a little sooner than what was expected during this rebuild, maybe I'll also start being a Steve Yzerman believer. So moving on to playoff locks now. Now, these are teams that are currently in a playoff spot and I think will not budge from their playoff spot. First team I'm putting in here is the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games. They hold a 52.21 expected goals for percentage, and my cat is howling, so I do apologize if you can hear him. So for Tampa Bay, they are currently in the 3rd in the Atlantic, and then Toronto is just behind them. So very interesting team Tampa Bay has been this year. They've been very up and down, but they have started to play much better, and they look like their true selves again. So good for Tampa Bay. Next team that's going in this category is the New York Rangers. They are 6-3-1 in their last 10. They have won 4 games in a row. They have a 51.89 expected goals for percentage. And for the Rangers, they are a playoff lock, no question about it. They are starting to win again. They're top 3 in that Metro division. So yeah, we'll just keep going from there. Next team that is a playoff lock for me is the Philadelphia Flyers. This is a team that could drop into the wild card fight depending what happens, but they have won 3 games in a row. Their expected goals for is positive. They are over 51%. John Tortorella seems to have done some good work with this team, so I think Philly will be a playoff lock. Next up is the Winnipeg Jets. Now, they were a cup contender in my last power rankings, but in this one, they are just a playoff lock. They've dropped just a little bit. They were really struggling for a while. Not sure what was going on. They've given up a lot of goals. Oh, and now my cats are scrapping. Hey, so for the Winnipeg Jets, yes, their expected goals for percentage is 55.67%. Very strong team. They have struggled recently. They are 4-5-1 in their last 10. We'll see if they can get back up into that contender spot soon. Next up is the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, Vegas, they are 7-2-1 in their last 10. They've won 2 in a row. Their expected goals for percentage is just over 50%, just a hair. It's at 50.17%. Yeah, that's a team that will probably be hovering around that cup contender playoff lock throughout the rest of the season when I do these power rankings. So Vegas, they're starting to turn it around. They did end Edmonton's 16-game win streak, so good for Vegas. I love it. I'm just so happy for you. Your team has never had to struggle for anything. Good job, Vegas. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. The next playoff lock is the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina's really found their game. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 2 games in a row. They have a 58.66 expected goals for percentage, which ranks number 1 in the league. And if their goaltending can kind of just stabilize a little bit, this is a team that is going to go on a big run. And this is a team that could move their way into cup contender status. The next team I have here is the Edmonton Oilers. Now, they're not quite cup contender status to me. They've lost 2 of their first 3 games coming out of the All-Star break. But they do have a 57.57 expected goals for percentage, so that ranks 2nd in the entire NHL. Again, this is a team that needs some goal scoring. They need some finishing, in my opinion. They generate a lot of chances, but their team shooting percentage isn't where I think it should be. There's some guys that aren't putting the puck in the net at all, like Connor Brown. So we'll see what Edmonton does. We'll see if they move into the cup contenders status later this season. And then the next team I'm going to put in here is the Colorado Avalanche. This was another team that was in cup contending status, I believe, the last time I did a power rankings video, but they have struggled recently. They've lost 3 straight games. Their goaltending does not look very good right now, very shaky. They do have a team expected goals for percentage of 52.87%. So we'll see where Colorado ends up landing as the season progresses here in the second half. Now to the cup content. Whoa, who did I forget here? I forgot Toronto. Toronto needs to go in wild card fight, I believe. Yes, they are 5-5 in their last 10, 52.44 expected goals for percentage. I'm not sure how I forgot about the Toronto Maple Leafs there. They recently lost to Ottawa, and then you had the whole Morgan Riley incident. So sorry about that, Leafs fans, but you are in wild card fight. Probably a playoff lock, but for now, you're wild card fight, in my opinion. Toronto's been very shaky. Shaky would be an understatement this season. They haven't proven that they should be a playoff lock. Now, the cup contenders. Obviously, you see the last 4 teams at the bottom of the list here. The first one is Dallas. Dallas has just been consistent all season. They are a terrific team. 54.24 expected goals for percentage. They are 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. Dallas is a good team. Don't sleep on Dallas. They very well could win a cup this season, and if they did, I would not be surprised. Next up, I have the Boston Bruins. Now, Boston is barely in here. They are barely in cup contender status. The only reason I have them in here is because they are second place in the league standings, and they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. But out of all the playoff teams, so if the playoffs were to start today with the 16 teams currently in a playoff spot, Boston's expected goals for percentage is 16th out of the 16 teams at 49.27%. It is not good in Boston land when it comes to generating chances, high danger chances. This team is playing above their weight because of goaltending, but we'll see. For now, they're a cup contender just based on where they are in the standings. In my opinion, they're more of a playoff lock. And if the analytics had a say in this, if the analytics were truly always 100% correct, Boston would be a wild card team, in my opinion. So if Boston is a first round exit again, don't be surprised. Just putting that out there. You guys can come back to this video once the playoffs start. I'll say I told you so. The next team in the cup contender status is the Vancouver Canucks. This team just keeps finding a way to win. They are 6-1-3 in their last 10 games. They have a 53.51 expected goals for percentage. Now, their team shooting percentage is still 13%. Their team PDO is still hovering around 105. There's still regression due for this team, but it's clear that they have a formula that allows them to sustain their play, and we'll see if it can continue. Obviously, there's a lot of guys on that team that are shooting career high percentages, but that doesn't mean that they're a bad team. I think Vancouver is definitely a little bit better than what they should be, but this is a cup contending team this season. So good for the Vancouver Canucks. Good for their fans. Please stop harassing me on Twitter. Just kidding. You guys are fine. You guys are fine. Relax. And then the last team in the cup contending status is the Florida Panthers. They are 6-2-2 in their last 10 games. They have a 55.33 expected goals for percentage. And in my opinion, if I were to have to pick 2 cup finalists right now, it would be Dallas and Florida. Just honestly, Florida is just an absolute wagon of a team. They are terrific. But that is my NHL power rankings for February 12th. What do you guys think of my power rankings? Is there anything that you agree with or disagree with? I want to know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If you guys like my power rankings, make sure you hit like. If you really like it, make sure you hit subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.